Christine here. So I'm going to take you through how to make a Yule log. So this is the dessert extravaganza of our Fakeaway Christmas recipes. So first of all, I'll take you through all the ingredients that we're going to be using today. So I've got flour here, 4 eggs, I've got sugar, cocoa powder, some dark chocolate, I've got some icing sugar just for the top, and for the ganache filling I've got some double cream which I've already pre-whipped, and I've got some double cream that's going to be nice and silky and smooth. Okay, so just going to get my recipe. To begin with, we need to preheat your oven. So I've already preheated mine, and it's 200 degrees Celsius, gas mark 6. And the next job, which is really important before we get going, is to grease your cake tin. Okay, so ideally you want a long rectangular cake tin, because when we roll up the Yule log, we'll need that kind of long square shape. So I've done mine with a bit of margarine and then baking parchment all around the outside. So for the sponge, in a large bowl, what we need to do is whisk the eggs together with the sugar. Right, so I'm going to crack 4 eggs into a large bowl and add the sugar. Oh, if you've got a glass bowl, that would work, but I'm on plastic, so at least it didn't all, backfire into my face. That would have been worse. Just wrecking the table. Do you know what? You can actually use a fork. Give me a second. There you go. This is a better tip. Oh, any shell that you get in there, just pick it out. Okay. So that's your eggs in there, and you don't need to whisk them up yet. Sugar in. And I've got an electric whisk here, and I'm going to whisk it until it's kind of pale in colour and it's all light and frothy. Okay, so I've been whisking for a wee while, and actually, if you have it there, that's kind of light and it's all kind of frothy and bubbly and lovely. So next, what we need to do is sift the flour and the cocoa powder into this bowl. So if you've got a wee sieve, and I've got my flour, that can just go straight in there. Don't worry about sifting all the bits straight away. And then the cocoa powder. Oop. And this is the really fun Christmassy bit to do, because you can pretend that it's snowing chocolate. In our dreams, it would snow chocolate. So that makes it all nice and light. So that just sifts in there. Chocolate hurricane. And you want to get it so that all the granules, the kind of rock bits at the end, gets harder towards the end because you've got the bigger lumps of your cocoa. But just get as far as you can with it. It's not the end of the world if you miss out a bit of cocoa powder. I'm probably going to leave mine about there, because I've got loads of massive lumps of chocolate that I don't want to add in. So that's done there. And then what I'm going to do is, using a spatula, now I've not got one, so I'm just going to use one of these, but whatever you've got in the house is fine. If you've got a spatula, that'll be ideal. And you're going to fold the flour and the cocoa into the mix. Now you want to be careful that you don't whisk it too much, spoon it too much, that you lose the air that you've just created by whisking. So just fold it gently and get the mixture all together. Definitely be easier with a spatula. There we go, and as you can see, it starts going all kind of like a gooey, like a classic cake mix that you're more kind of familiar with if you're someone who bakes a lot at home. There we go, like that. Kind of looks quite oily because of the eggs, which is nice. Obviously, again, if you've got a spatula, you can rub that off there. I've got clean fingers, don't worry. So get that in there like that, she says. Okay, so the next bit, quite simple, I'm actually going to use that again, is this is just going to go straight into the tin. Yep. Yep, so it wants to be evenly across the whole of your tin, like that. So I've got quite a big tin and not loads of mixture, so my Yule log probably will be quite thin. But if you've got a thicker one, that's absolutely fine, just work with what you've got. But spread it nice and thinly around the tin. So you want it to go right into the corners. Get it all around so that we can have a nice even Yule log at the end. And you can use your spatula to kind of spread it out. I actually might leave it like that. There we go. So when that's all nicely sorted, you're going to go into the oven, and it goes on for 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to take the cake out of the oven, see how it is. That's been in for about 10 minutes now. Okay. And a little trick that you can do is if you've got a fork, I've just got a knife here, but if you've got a fork, you can just lightly put it in the center, and yeah, that's cooked through nicely. So this is where the art comes in. What we're going to do is we're going to put the cake, I've actually, on the bottom of this table, I've got a piece of baking parchment bigger than the tin, and it's covered in icing sugar, okay? And I'm going to put the cake, I'm going to flip it over so that it's on top of the icing sugar. So that's the plan. So I think I'm going to use these. I'm just going to flip it. And it should fall out. I'll flip it quickly, I think. Oh, there we go. There we go. And then I think I take this top piece of paper off. Is that right? Yep, so I'm going to take this top piece of paper off so that you've just got the flat cake, and it's quite hot, so just be careful. You can leave it to cool if you want. But just take that top piece of paper off, like so. There we go, and all the bit around the edges. And you've got a bit of a chocolate cake brick at this point, which is exciting. And that's on top of the icing sugar covered baking parchment. Okay, so now while it's hot, what we're going to do is you're going to take a knife, and about 2.5 centimeters in, you're going to draw a score line across the cake, okay? Just a small one. Just like so. Doesn't have to be perfect, but then you've got a straight score line with your knife. And that's going to be the start of when we're rolling the cake. So make sure you kind of cut the edges. There we go. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the baking parchment that's bigger than the king, and we're going to actually use the baking parchment to roll the cake up while it's hot. Okay? So I'm just going to, might need to fold that a bit because it's quite, so I'm going to take that, and where your score line is, you just are going to start, and you have to tease it. Be very careful because you don't want the cake to snap at this point. So this is the art. The cake rolling. There we go. And like I said earlier, mine is actually quite skinny. Bit of a skinny Yule log. But there you go, and you kind of end up with like quite a warm, chocolatey Christmas cracker at this point. Okay, so we're going to leave the log, the chocolate log, to just cool down. So just put that to one side and forget about it for the next 10 minutes. So the next job is to make the chocolate ganache, and this is going to go on the top of the Yule log at the end. So I'm going to take my double cream, and it says 300 milliliters in the recipe, but this is actually just 270, but I'm just going to whack that in. So that needs to go into a pan onto the hob, and you want it warm and not too hot. So you want the pan to be kind of, if you had your finger in it, you wouldn't want to be burning yourself. You just want to be nice and warm. So you're going to pop that in, And then what you're going to do is get your dark chocolate. So I've got all mine chopped up into pieces. I'm just going to pop that in there. And basically we're just going to stir it until the cream goes dead chocolatey. So that might take 5 minutes. It's quite a nice job watching the colour change from cream to brown. Okay, so the cream and the chocolate has been on the hob for about 5 minutes and it's got a beautiful kind of milky chocolate colour. So that's ready to go. So what I'm going to do is put it in a bowl and that's going to go into the fridge and it's going to cool off, cool right down so that we can spread it onto the cake later at the end. So I think we'll probably leave it in the fridge for 10-15 minutes, however long it takes for it to cool right down. So we don't want to burn the top of the cake. We want it to be nice and thick right at the end so that it can, you know, pipe on really nicely. Let's get that all out. Here we go. And into the fridge. And then I'm going to take out the fridge my log, which I've put in there just to cool down. I'm going to move that one. And the next job, again, this is a bit more of the fiddly kind of arty bit again, is I'm going to get my cream. Where have I put my cream? In the fridge. Oh yeah. So my whipped cream that I'd whipped earlier was just in the fridge there. If you haven't pre-whipped it, it's completely fine. Whip it now, just with an electric whisk or a hand whisker, that's fine. And the skill to this bit is what we're going to do is we're going to unroll the log that we rolled and then we're going to spoon on all of the cream onto the log and then we're going to wrap it up again. So there's a fair few steps to this. So I'll spin that round. I'm just going to unroll it and it's kind of got a bit of a curl to it, as you can see here, because it's been cooling down in that shape. So it's kind of like, so we'll just leave that like that, which is nice. I take this one and just put it on however thick you like it. If you like loads of cream, get it on there. If you're not the hugest fan, then you just do a little skinny layer. I think we probably like cream here, so I'll get it on. And make sure you're getting it right into the corners so that you're not missing any bits out. It's actually quite fun to do, really, especially with it being curled up. Just remember, make sure you remember what end of the log that you actually curled up so you get the curl right the second time. Here we go. And it doesn't need to be perfect because this is all going to be smushed and curled in the middle. So I curled mine up from this side, so I don't need the paper on this time. So I'm just going to fold that and I'm just going to use my hands on the bare cake now. And what you want to do is get it quite tight. So this actually might all, yeah, this is all going to actually, the tighter it goes, the more the cream's going to actually push out. Can you see? So I might have made a little bit of a mess here, but that's okay because we can just get rid of that later. There we go, smush it out. That's fine. So if you're doing this at home, maybe just put a thin layer on instead of me going mad with the cream. But if you have gone mad like me, that's completely fine. You can just take it off like that, and because it's on the paper, it doesn't make too much of a mess. And then we've got a bit of a log to work with and to decorate and make it look pretty. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just transfer my Yule log onto another bit of baking parchment, and I'm actually just going to pop it in the fridge. So I'm going to curl it up again and pop it in the fridge, because what we don't want to happen is if the cake's still warm slightly and the cream is cool, we don't want the cream to all melt. So I'm just going to pop that back in there for 5 minutes or so. Alright everyone, so we're back with our Yule log recipe. I've had a hat change and what we've done is left our Yule log in the fridge overnight to cool. And we've left the ganache overnight to cool because both those things need to be really cool so that they can spread onto the cake properly. Now what actually happened with our ganache is it got a bit too cool for us to paste on. So a little tip for you is if you have a bowl of hot water and you just put the ganache bowl on top and you just cool it down, well, actually warm it up that way, so that it's back to the room temperature. But we'll see how the Yule log's done. Lovely. So you can see there, it's all nice and creamy at the end, and it's nice and cold and sticks together, and the roll's all fine. Like I was saying with the ganache, so as you can see, it's still quite thick there, but it was really thick when we took it out of the oven before. So we just put a bit of cool hot water underneath the bowl, and it's warmed up, so now we can spread it out. So the plan next is this is the fun bit. If you get all your ganache, and we're going to spoon it into a piping bag. Now I think Simi did a recipe it was either last year or a couple of years ago, where we got all the young people to decorate cakes. So everyone actually should have one of these piping bags. If you don't, it's not a problem. You can just use a fork or a spoon or a knife, and you can just go over the top of your Yule log that way. But I'm going to try and use the piping bag, if I can get the ganache out the whisk. There we go, just needs to be perfect. So that just goes in there like so. And as you can see, it is actually quite, because it is so thick, which would be gorgeous when it's on the cake, but it can be quite fiddly just to get it into the bag. But just make a huge mess of your kitchen. And it is actually a really gorgeous log colour, because it is just cream and chocolate. So it is a really, really nice Christmassy bark-like colour. Just use my fingers there, they are clean. There we go. You put your bowl to one side. And the trick to using these is if you get as much of the mixture as you can right to the bottom of the bag, you squeeze it down like that. So mine's really, really thick. If you squeeze it right down like that, and then if you make a little, kind of wrap the bag, and there you go, and then you've got the most control over the chocolate. So there we go. So as you can see, mine's coming out, and the nozzle that I have on here is kind of a bit jagged, so it's going to make like a lovely kind of bark-like texture. But if you've just got a plain one, or like I say, if you've got a knife, that's completely fine. So I'm just going to go in fine lines from one end of the Yule log to the next. And you actually quite need to apply quite a bit of pressure onto the bag just to get the line quite fine. And my nozzle's not really, really big, so I'll be here for a while piping. But it looks so beautiful at the end if you can get it all kind of finely together. I always think a Yule log's a really good one at Christmas for the people who don't like mince pies. So many young people and kids and just people in general don't like mince pies, so it's always nice to offer a chocolatey alternative. You can't really turn down a piece of Yule log, can you, with a cup of tea? I'll just spin that round like that. And just go over any bits that you don't get in a full line, that's fine. I'll put it that way actually so you can see. So I'll just carry on like so off camera, because I don't want to bore you with me doing the chocolate, but if you want to do the ends, that's fine, both ends. And then all I'm going to do once I've finished that is get some icing sugar and just sprinkle it over the top, so it's nice and frosty. So it's kind of a chocolate log that's been snowed over. Oh, it's quite a lot. Well, it's been heavily snowing. And then what we'll do is, once it's all finished, is if you've got any wee Christmas decorations, so we've got these gorgeous pine cone decorations that the young people made. So I'm just going to kind of place them just around. If you've got any holly or any greenery, that'll look really lovely on the log as well. And then you're good to go with a cup of tea. There's your Yule log. Enjoy!